Welcome to another Fine Spun Tale. Today's story continues in the world of Rama. The radar pulse generator Excalibur, powered by nuclear explosions, had been dormant for almost 50 years. Originally built to detect alien visitors like the Rama spacecraft, it was abandoned due to economic crises in the early 2140s. Advancements in radar science led to its reactivation in the late 2170s. Initially, the odd signals it detected were dismissed, but further analysis revealed a smooth object at least 40 kilometers long, another Rama spacecraft. By 2179, the world knew a second extraterrestrial craft was approaching, prompting the International Space Agency to prepare a mission to intercept it near Venus in 2200. As the new Rama drew closer, its characteristics matched the original, reigniting philosophical debates and curiosity among humanity. The anticipation of this second encounter with an alien intelligence galvanized global attention, echoing the intrigue and mystery of the first Rama visit. The stage was set for mankind's renewed appointment with destiny, as Excalibur's sensors confirmed the arrival of another interstellar visitor. A bizarre metallic creature resembling a skinny armadillo crawls along a wall as a helicopter hovers nearby, trying to capture it with a mechanical arm. Janos Tabori struggles to maneuver the arm due to the helicopter's instability. Dr. David Brown orders the pilot, Hiro Yamanaka, to move closer, but the helicopter's system rejects the command. Brown insists on manual control, and Yamanaka cautiously complies. Tabori manages to grab the creature, but a sudden wind causes the helicopter to crash into the wall, forcing the crew to eject. The creature falls and shatters while the helicopter crashes on the plane. General Valery Borzov and electrical engineer Richard Wakefield investigate the crash site, learning that Tabori is bruised but not seriously injured. Borzov confronts Brown, questioning his decision to override safety protocols. Brown defends his actions, emphasizing the mission's importance, but Borzov reprimands him for endangering the crew. Tension rises as Brown angrily packs his parachute and refuses a ride back to base, walking off in frustration. Janos Tabori sits outside the meeting room, explaining to Francesca Sabatini's camera the difficulties he faced with the mechanical arm during a recent simulation. General O'Toole interrupts, summoning them to the crew conference where Borzov, the mission commander, awaits. Borzov scolds the crew, particularly journalist Reggie Wilson, for neglecting their mission duties. The crew gathers, and Borzov criticizes their poor performance in the latest training exercise, stressing the mission's importance and need for better preparation. Dr. David Brown defends his handling of the simulation, emphasizing the scientific value of capturing biots from the Raman spacecraft. A debate ensues about mission priorities, with Borzov prioritizing crew safety and Brown stressing scientific gains. Richard Wakefield raises concerns about the potential dangers of interacting with the biots. Tabori, fatigued and injured, requests an early end to the meeting, which Borzov grants, reminding the crew of the critical upcoming simulations and their mission's significance. In early 2030, the first Raman spacecraft's appearance profoundly impacts humanity, proving the existence of other intelligence in the universe. This revelation causes humanity to rethink its place in the cosmos. The Ramans become a major topic of discussion, but after their departure and a year of fruitless telescopic searches, interest wanes, and the encounter becomes a historical curiosity. The global focus shifts to self-indulgence, leading to a surge in consumption and economic growth, known as the Raman boom, which temporarily improves living standards but ignores underlying issues. By 2133, it becomes evident that the Raman boom is unsustainable, but warnings go unheeded. In early 2134, the stock market begins to decline, coinciding with the bright return of Halley's Comet. Panic ensues when three major banks declare insolvency, leading to a massive sell-off and data gridlock on the global network system, GNS. The system crashes, making financial transactions impossible for weeks. People resort to bartering, and the chaos precipitates a prolonged system recession, with the gross world product not recovering for 50 years. The Great Chaos begins with a market crash, leading to a global financial breakdown, worsened by political mismanagement and lack of international cooperation. This time of chaos, starting in the 2130s, sees rising unemployment, widespread homelessness, and the collapse of international institutions. The global crisis deepens as emergency appropriations for Rama-related projects drain resources, and tax cuts reduce funds for essential services. The international organizations become understaffed, further aggravating the crisis. The collapse spreads to space colonies, which are abandoned due to a lack of support from Earth, culminating in the heroic but final rescue mission by Benita Garcia in 2044. By 2145, the world starts recognizing the need for international cooperation to restore civilization. A concerted effort by the brightest minds leads to gradual recovery, with significant economic improvement visible by 2047. However, the scars of the Great Chaos linger, profoundly affecting societal values and behaviors. The next generation, raised by parents traumatized by the chaos, experiences strict discipline. The late 2170s mark a renaissance for old institutions and a cautious resurgence in space exploration, leading to the rediscovery of spaceflight capabilities by the time the second Raman spaceship appears in 2196. The lessons of fear and resilience learned during the Great Chaos shape humanity's approach to this new encounter. Elaine Brown, while working on her doctorate in physics at SMU, was advised by David, her future husband. During an interview conducted by the Italian journalist Francesca Sabatini, Elaine reveals that David was still married when he became her advisor, but they got engaged after his divorce. The interview takes place in Elaine's living room, with Francesca skillfully steering the conversation. After the interview, Francesca notices the tension in David's family, especially during a chaotic moment involving their children and a robot dog. Francesca sees this as an opportunity to manipulate David, knowing his need for control. Later, Francesca returns to her hotel, reflecting on her plans. She dismisses a lucrative offer from Carlo Bianchi for an advertisement and prepares for her next big project, the Newton mission. Francesca is confident in her ability to manage the situation with David and looks forward to the mission, seeing it as a chance to secure her legacy. Her interactions reveal her strategic thinking and the dynamic relationships she navigates in her professional and personal life. In the early 2160s, the Kennedy Spaceport is reactivated after years of abandonment. By December 2199, it becomes a bustling transportation center once again. General Valery Borzov, overseeing the operations, watches an eagle from his temporary office, reflecting on his past and the current activities, including the repair and testing of spacecraft modules. A blonde journalist, Francesca Sabatini, arrives to discuss press schedules and the upcoming New Year's Eve party. She insists on private meetings to resolve scheduling conflicts and promote the mission's public image. Francesca reveals a video cube containing sensitive footage of Borzov's daughter, Natasha, suffering from schizophrenia. She uses this to persuade Borzov to cancel additional simulations, schedule his personal interview, and ensure full attendance at the New Year's party. Despite his initial resistance, Borzov agrees, recognizing the potential fallout if the video were released. The exchange concludes with a mix of gratitude and reluctance, highlighting the complexities of leadership and personal sacrifice in the high-stakes environment of space missions. The medical briefing has already begun when Francesca and General Borzov arrive. In a small auditorium filled with cosmonauts, engineers, scientists, and media personnel, Nicole Desjardins, in her gray flight suit, introduces Dr. Toshiro Hakamatsu, the developer of a new biometry system for their mission. This system involves tiny probes that will be inserted into their bodies to monitor health parameters, significantly reducing the need for routine injection and scanning. A 3D holographic model of the human cardiovascular system displays how these probes will travel and embed themselves in various body parts, collecting and transmitting health data. As Nicole explains, the probes adapt to the body's chemistry to avoid rejection and can store data for up to 4 days. Questions arise about data management and probe reliability, to which Nicole demonstrates the system's advanced features for handling emergencies and malfunctions. General O'Toole's concerns about probe placement and malfunctioning are addressed, ensuring the probe's proper functioning and self-destruction in case of failure. Nicole calls for a volunteer to demonstrate the inoculation process, and Francesca steps forward, marking the beginning of their new biometry system experience. Nicole, a cosmonaut, is on a supersonic flight to Japan fighting fatigue after a brief sleep. She arranges ground transportation via the in-flight comm system and reflects on the urgency of her trip. While reviewing biometry data at home, she discovered irregular heart data from Dr. Takagishi that the system failed to alarm. This led to her contacting Dr. Hakamatsu, who confirmed the data wasn't a probe malfunction, but a wide expected range set for Takagishi, urging her to investigate in person. Upon arrival, Takagishi explains the history and importance of his participation in the mission, motivated by his lifelong dream of understanding the Raman spacecraft. He admits to falsifying his medical history to pass the cosmonaut selection, fearing disqualification due to a minor heart irregularity. Now, with continuous monitoring, his secret is at risk. He asks Nicole to keep his irregularity confidential if it poses no threat to the mission. Nicole agrees to review his complete medical history before deciding, empathizing with his passion but aware of the ethical implications. General Michael O'Toole, struggling with excitement and jet lag, eagerly anticipates his audience with Pope John Paul V in the Vatican. O'Toole, a cosmonaut and a devout Catholic, seeks the Pope's guidance on theological questions related to his upcoming mission involving the Ramans. He's particularly concerned about the concept of redemption and whether the Ramans might have experienced a similar spiritual evolution to humans. The Pope, acknowledging the profound nature of these questions, shares his belief that if the Ramans needed redemption, Jesus would have been sent to them as well. This conversation reassures O'Toole, reinforcing his view that all sentient beings might be united by a similar spiritual journey. The Pope and O'Toole discuss the theological implications of the Ramans' existence and their potential spirituality. O'Toole expresses his commitment to preparing for his mission by exploring every possible aspect, including the spiritual. The Pope appreciates O'Toole's dedication and emphasizes the importance of seeking divine guidance. As they conclude their meeting, both men reflect on the vastness of their inquiries and the shared hope that answers will be provided in time. General O'Toole exits the subway opposite the entrance to the International Peace Park. He walks briskly through the park, passing a monument to children, and heads towards the shrine of St. Michael of Siena. St. Michael was canonized in 2188, and the shrine is built at the epicenter of a nuclear blast. O'Toole prays briefly on the first level, then ascends to the second floor, eager to see the frescoes depicting St. Michael's life. The frescoes, created by a team of international artists, tell the story of St. Michael, from his birth to his canonization, highlighting his efforts in religious activism, feeding the hungry, and promoting unity among humanity. As O'Toole tours the shrine, he is moved by the frescoes, especially those depicting Michael's preaching and the subsequent hardships he faced. St. Michael's message of unity and care for the less fortunate, had made him a target, and he was ultimately killed in a terrorist bombing in 2138. The frescoes vividly portray the aftermath of the explosion, evoking strong emotions in O'Toole. He reflects on the saint's life and prays for guidance, feeling a deep connection to St. Michael's mission and legacy. Nicole Desjardins prepares for a New Year's Eve party wearing a simple, elegant white dress. She talks to her daughter, Genevieve, and her father, Pierre, via videophone, discussing the party and her premonition of unease. Pierre reassures her, while Genevieve insists Nicole must speak to her favorite singer at the event. As Nicole heads to the party at Hadrian's villa with Hiro Yamanaka, she faces a barrage of reporters and admires the villa's historical grandeur. At the party, Nicole navigates the crowd, feeling out of place, but managing to stay polite. She finally finds a moment of solitude, only to be joined by a drunken Richard Wakefield. They discuss the evening's oddities, including an upcoming dolphin show. Richard, drawing a parallel between the ancient Roman architecture and the Raman spaceship they studied, muses on the shared mathematical principles, likening the Romans and Ramans in a playful yet insightful reflection. At a New Year's Eve gala, Francesca Sabatini thanks sponsors and introduces Dr. Luigi Bartolini, who demonstrates dolphin communication techniques. Meanwhile, Richard Wakefield mingles with actresses, and Nicole, observing the event, reflects on Bartolini's intelligence tests involving dolphins and humans. As Francesca prepares for the dolphin show, Nicole admires her grace. The show, featuring a pattern recognition competition between dolphins and humans, ends in a tie, intriguing Nicole about intelligence. Later, Nicole dances with Julien Leclerc, a conceited singer, and agrees to an interview with Francesca. The interview, initially comfortable, takes a sharp turn when Francesca questions Nicole about her daughter's father, triggering painful memories. Overwhelmed, Nicole ends the interview abruptly. Returning to her hotel, Nicole receives a mysterious message from her great-grandfather, Ome, who warns her of danger and gives her a stone and a vial for protection. As he leaves, Nicole is left contemplating the night's events and the cryptic warning. Nicole and her daughter Genevieve walk through the snowy hill to their hotel in Davos, Switzerland. As they approach, Nicole is reminded of her upcoming space mission to rendezvous with an alien spacecraft. Inside the hotel, Nicole receives a mysterious, hand-delivered message from someone named Henry, sparking memories from her past. The next day, she takes a cable car to meet Henry at a secluded chalet. Henry, now the King of England, presents her with a data cube containing confidential information about her mission crew, expressing his concerns for her safety. Despite her initial anger at his interference, Nicole appreciates his intentions and leaves the chalet after a brief emotional exchange. In the past, Henry and Nicole had met during a royal reception where he unknowingly encountered their daughter, Genevieve. The emotional connection between them resurfaces during their meeting in the chalet. As Henry shares his worries, Nicole decides to accept the data cube, knowing it might be valuable for her mission. They share a tender moment before Nicole bids him farewell and leaves, carrying the weight of their shared history and the challenges ahead. The Newton spacecraft approaches the immense cylindrical ship, Rama. Commander Valery Borzov and Life Science Officer Nicole observe the craft, noting its similarity to the previous Rama ship. Borzov plans to dock and release interior drones if no variations are found. Amid their preparations, Nicole addresses crew conflicts, particularly between Wilson and Brown, recommending their separation on missions due to jealousy. To ease tensions, Borzov suggests a pre-mission party, which Nicole supports. Later, Nicole encounters Francesca Sabatini in the medical supply room, discovering she is pregnant and seeking an abortion. Despite initial resistance, Nicole conducts a medical examination and administers the necessary medicine. Francesca, angered and resolute, dismisses Nicole's concerns and leaves, determined to terminate the pregnancy before the mission's critical phase. Nicole reflects on the ethical and emotional complexities of their situation as she grapples with her professional responsibilities and personal judgments. The crew of the spaceship Newton successfully lands near Rama and prepares to explore its interior. General Borzov leads the operation, with Wakefield and Tabori opening the airlock and establishing a communications relay station. They deploy drones to survey Rama's interior, confirming it mirrors its predecessor. Despite the smooth operation, tension arises when Dr. David Brown confronts General Borzov about being excluded from the first sortie, leading to a heated exchange. Later, the crew enjoys a celebratory dinner, with General Borzov toasting their mission's success. Francesca Sabatini recites The Tiger while displaying a processed image of Rama, prompting reflections on its creators. The evening concludes with a robotic performance of Lady Macbeth, impressing Nicole Desjardins, but also giving her a sense of foreboding. Feeling unwell, Nicole leaves the gathering, haunted by a premonition of tragedy. Nicole dreams of being 10 again in the woods of chilly Mazarin, sensing her mother is dying. Awakened by Janos Tabori, she learns General Borzov is in severe pain, likely from ascites. Nicole swiftly diagnoses Borzov using a scanner, and despite Borzov's request for quick surgery, she decides to verify the diagnosis further. As Nicole and her team prepare Roser, a portable robot surgeon, for the operation, Borzov's condition worsens. During the procedure, an unexpected lurch of the spacecraft disrupts the surgery, causing Roser to continue cutting, leading to a massive hemorrhage. Despite Nicole's efforts, Borzov dies on the operating table. The Newton spacecraft experiences further unexplained maneuvers, and the crew grapples with Borzov's sudden death. The incident raises questions about the cause of the spacecraft's movement and the failure of Roser's fault protection system. Nicole, burdened with the responsibility of Borzov's death, faces painful teleconferences and introspection, questioning whether human error or unforeseen circumstances led to the tragedy. Despite the thorough pre-launch testing of Roser, Nicole struggles with the guilt and the unanswered questions surrounding the incident. The day after General Borzov's death, the ISA investigation expands and cosmonauts undergo intense questioning. Nicole is grilled about her sobriety, insisting her judgment wasn't impaired during the operation despite having had alcohol. Back in her room, Nicole investigates why the robot surgeon didn't abort the operation despite system errors, suspecting manual interference with the software. Realizing she's reached her technical limits, she seeks help driven by a need to prove Borzov's death wasn't her fault. Meanwhile, a crew meeting debates leadership after Borzov with a suggestion to split duties between Admiral Heilman and Dr. Brown, but Reggie Wilson proposes General O'Toole as the sole leader. O'Toole, respected for his leadership, declines, advocating for Heilman and Brown's plan to maintain team unity. The crew agrees, and Nicole, still perplexed by the circumstances of Borzov's death, finds her colleague Tabori strangely unhelpful about his role during the operation. Nicole reviews diagnostic data and realizes Borzov's condition might be due to a drug reaction, not appendicitis. Irina Turgenev calls her to a heated crew meeting where they discuss the possibility that the spacecraft's maneuver during Borzov's surgery was intentional. Ultimately, the crew decides to propose their own leadership structure to ISA, bypassing potential bureaucratic delays. As the meeting concludes, Nicole seeks clarity from Janos Tabori about his actions during the incident, but he offers vague and evasive responses, leaving Nicole still seeking answers about the true cause of Borzov's death. Nicole feels overwhelmed by loneliness and self-doubt after the difficult surgery and a distressing call from her family. Her daughter Genevieve is particularly upset, crying over the negative rumors surrounding Nicole's performance and the death of General Borzov, a family friend. Nicole, exhausted and heartbroken, reflects on her daughter's pain and her own feelings of failure and isolation. She longs for the comfort and reassurance of her family, but feels the vast distance between them acutely. In solitude, Nicole recalls her childhood and the challenges she faced, particularly the Poro initiation ritual in her mother's village in the Ivory Coast. At 7, Nicole was sent alone to undergo this rite of passage, feeling alienated and scared. Her father, unable to accompany her, had encouraged her to embrace her Sinufo heritage despite her reluctance. The ritual involved harsh tests of survival, intended to mark the transition from childhood to adulthood. Nicole remembers the mixture of fear and determination she felt, drawing a parallel to her current struggle, hoping to find the strength to overcome her current challenges. 7-year-old Nicole finds herself alone near a brackish pond on the savannah, left there by priests who promise to return the next day. Initially treating the situation as a game, she inventories her supplies and plans her meals, realizing her water supply is scarce. As she explores, she encounters antelopes and becomes aware of her isolation. Seeking additional water, Nicole walks towards a distant grove, losing her sense of distance in the open savanna. She finally reaches a small oasis and refreshes herself in a pool, but upon exiting discovers her clothes and kit are missing, likely taken by animals. As night falls, Nicole faces increasing dangers, including a lioness and her cubs playing with her dress. She hides in a ditch, but ants wake her, causing her to scream and alert the lioness. In a panic, she eats a tuber given by Ome and dreams of transforming into a heron, flying over the savannah. She wakes to find the lioness watching her but calms the animal by singing a lullaby. The lioness retreats, and by morning, Nicole is found asleep by the priests. This childhood ordeal fortifies her resolve in adulthood as she navigates challenges aboard the Newton, drawing strength from her past survival experience. Nicole enters the commander's office to discuss her assignment and finds Dr. David Brown with Francesca, who is assisting him. She requests to stay aboard the Newton during the first sortie, citing personal reasons and fatigue from a previous ordeal. Brown agrees, but asks Nicole to occasionally fill in as communications officer. As she prepares for bed, Nicole reflects on the changes in the office decor and the sterile atmosphere compared to General Borzov's personal touch. Intrigued by her discoveries about Janos Tabori and Dr. Brown, Nicole continues her investigation into the biometry data from Borzov, suspecting something unusual about his death. The next day, while the crew prepares to enter Rama, Nicole immerses herself in analyzing a data cube given to her by King Henry. She uncovers hidden details about Janos's past, including his struggles with acceptance and censored information in his official files. Nicole also reviews Dr. Brown's complex history, noting incidents of professional misconduct and his ambitions. Despite her fatigue, she remains on the Newton, pondering over her findings and the connections between the cosmonauts as the crew heads into the dark and unknown interior of Rama. Richard Wakefield and his team are installing a chairlift on the Alpha stairway inside Rama, where gravity increases as they descend. Wakefield checks his air supply and realizes they are behind schedule. Above him, Janos Tabori finishes anchoring lines, growing fatigued from the repetitive work. After a brief lunch break, they continue their installation, despite the challenge of varying gravity levels. Francesca films an educational demonstration and helps with the installation, eager to capture their work. By late afternoon, they complete the Alpha chairlift and prepare for testing. Francesca is the first to ride the chairlift, followed by Wakefield, who uses the ascent to gather atmospheric data. As he rides, he is awestruck by the sudden burst of light from Rama's artificial suns, illuminating the alien landscape below, including the cylindrical sea and towering structures in the southern bowl. The unexpected light startles another team member, Hiro Yamanaka, but he recovers safely. The team marvels at the breathtaking view and resumes their tasks, planning to assemble rovers and establish a campsite before continuing their exploration of Rama. Cosmonaut Wakefield, having endured a traumatic childhood and a difficult divorce from British actress Sarah Tidings, is remarkably well adjusted after 2 years of therapy. Known for his unparalleled academic achievements in the Space Academy, he is wary of intimacy but exhibits no antisocial behavior. Nicole, a crew member, reads his psychological assessment while preparing for her communication shift. She notes that among the crew, Wakefield, O'Toole, and Takagishi are the most reliable, as others have compromised themselves with an illegal media contract or have unknown motives. She decides to enlist Wakefield's help in investigating the Roser software malfunction during Borzov's operation. During her shift, Nicole reviews Francesca Sabatini's broadcast about their mission inside Rama, despite her personal dislike for Francesca. Meanwhile, Dr. Takagishi, Wakefield, and Francesca prepare to explore the enigmatic New York section of Rama. They successfully navigate the icy terrain and marvel at the city's complex geometric structures, pondering its purpose. Suddenly, the lights within Rama extinguish, plunging them into darkness, intensifying the mystery of their surroundings. In complete darkness, Takagishi stands motionless, trying to recall his surroundings before the lights went out. He had been on a wall overlooking New York, close to a fatal drop. As he calls out to his companions, he drops to all fours, feeling the cold metal beneath his hands. Francesca and Richard, illuminated by the light from Francesca's camera, struggle to find him but eventually succeed. Despite hearing an eerie, high-pitched scraping noise, Takagishi and his colleagues are ordered by Dr. Brown to regroup and return to camp. Reluctantly, they head back, with Takagishi intrigued by the new sound he identified. Cosmonauts Tabori and Wakefield discuss Takagishi's frustration with Dr. Brown, who dismissed the significance of the strange noise. They reflect on the unnerving experience as they travel back to the Newton, speculating about future surprises. Janos remarks that, despite Dr. Brown's authority, it is Rama itself that dictates their actions. The cosmonauts remain curious and cautious about what lies ahead, knowing their exploration is subject to Rama's influences. In a dream, Takagishi lies in a 17th century ryokan, waiting for a young woman. He is awakened by a call from Nicole Desjardins, who urgently needs to see him. When she arrives, she shows him concerning heart data, suggesting his chronic diastolic abnormality has worsened. Despite Takagishi's attempt to downplay the issue, Nicole is worried and considers confining him to his quarters, prioritizing his health over his career. Takagishi appreciates her concern and reassures her, but the data from overnight shows no anomalies, leaving Nicole uncertain about his condition. Nicole meets Richard Wakefield to discuss the Roser software malfunction. Richard, always playful, introduces her to his robot, TB, which impresses her with its Shakespearean recitations. Nicole summarizes the software issue, suspecting manual interference but lacking proof. Richard offers to investigate, though he questions why the commands weren't simply asked about. Their conversation is interrupted by a call for a meeting as the lights inside Rama come back on, adding to their ongoing challenges. As the helicopter heads towards the beta campsite, Nicole descends into Rama via chairlift, reflecting on the grandeur of the artificial environment. She joins the rest of the team, where Reggie Wilson, who is becoming increasingly erratic, takes over driving the rover. Tensions rise between Wilson and Dr. Takagishi, but Wakefield diffuses the situation by letting Wilson drive. The team, wary but determined, proceeds to the new campsite to strategize their capture of the biots. Admiral Heilman warns Francesca to be careful as she leans out of the helicopter to film 6 crab-like biots with her video camera. Despite the automatic camera on board, she insists her specialized camera captures better zoom action. The biots, moving in precise formation, turn sharply at the cliff's edge, and Francesca captures their movement successfully. Dr. Takagishi, monitoring from the Scientific Control Center, suggests further study of the biot's sensory capabilities before capturing one, but Dr. Brown dismisses the idea, preferring to proceed with their original plan. The team discusses their preparations as they observe the biot's methodical path across the terrain. Meanwhile, Nicole descends into Rama on a chairlift, marveling at the breathtaking views. At the bottom, she joins Wakefield, Wilson, and Takagishi in a rover headed towards the beta campsite. Tensions rise as Wilson, erratic and confrontational, criticizes the mission and its leaders. Wakefield diffuses the situation by letting Wilson drive the rover, noting Wilson's racing enthusiasm. Nicole, concerned about Wilson's behavior, resolves to scan the team members for any health issues. As they drive, Takagishi contemplates the significant changes in Rama's environment, suggesting that Dr. Brown might be wrong about their triviality. The team proceeds to their campsite, ready to plan their next steps in the biot hunt. Nicole finishes her lunch while the other cosmonauts are still eating. They discuss the activities of the crab biots, speculating about their purpose. Richard Wakefield and Janos Tabori propose a betting game on the future behavior of Rama's lights to lighten the mood. Dr. David Brown, preoccupied and irritable, leaves the table abruptly, prompting Nicole to check his health. She discovers his high blood pressure, likely due to stress and lack of sleep. Brown's health data reveals he took a sleeping pill given by Francesca Sabatini without Nicole's knowledge. Later, Nicole, disturbed by Brown's dismissive attitude, returns to her hut for a nap, but is awakened by Francesca. Francesca apologizes for not informing Nicole earlier about giving Brown a sleeping pill and reveals she also provided strong headache medicine to Reggie Wilson. Nicole grows suspicious, recalling Francesca's involvement with Valery Borzov before his death. Confronting Francesca, Nicole asks if she has administered drugs to any other crew members, sensing something amiss with Francesca's behavior. The helicopter carefully lowers the rover to the ground as the crew prepares for a complex operation near the cylindrical sea in Rama. Richard Wakefield, Francesca Sabatini, and other cosmonauts, including Dr. David Brown, Reggie Wilson, and Dr. Takagishi, coordinate the effort to capture biot crabs using a specialized snare. Despite initial setbacks and concerns about the biot's capabilities, they persist, driven by the mission's importance and live coverage on INN. As the rover and helicopters position themselves, tension mounts with each failed attempt and growing unease about the biot's potential responses. During the second capture attempt, the team successfully snares a biot, lifting it off the ground amidst cheers. However, the celebration is cut short when the remaining biots become aggressive. Francesca narrowly escapes an attack by running erratically, but Reggie Wilson, attempting to save her, crashes into the biots with the rover. Trapped in the wreckage, he is brutally killed by the biots, his horrifying death broadcast live to Earth. The tragic outcome underscores the dangerous unpredictability of the alien environment and the perilous nature of the mission. Nicole sits in her hut at the beta campsite, haunted by the gruesome memory of Reggie Wilson's death. The disappearance of lights in Rama goes largely undiscussed among the cosmonauts, who are overwhelmed by grief. Nicole worries about the mission's future and reflects on the impact of Wilson's death on his family, particularly his young son, Randy. Seeking distraction and comfort, she visits Dr. Takagishi, who confides in her about his chest pains. Nicole scans him and discovers he has had a heart attack, necessitating immediate return to the Newton for proper treatment. Meanwhile, Richard Wakefield resolves a technical issue with the Roser software, explaining that accidental commands from Janos caused the scalpel to malfunction. Nicole, feeling disheartened by the simplicity of the solution, realizes her medical investigation into General Borzov's death remains inconclusive. She attempts to inform Dr. Brown and Admiral Heilman about Takagishi's condition, but is brushed off due to their heated discussion on mission directives from Earth. Nicole retreats to her hut, hoping for a better day ahead. David Brown is troubled by suspicions raised by Nicole, who believes Valerie was drugged, which Francesca confirms after speaking with Janos. David and Francesca discuss their failed plan involving Borzov, who was drugged to exhibit appendicitis symptoms but ended up dying due to unexpected circumstances. Francesca, who manipulated David into going along with the plan, insists their mistake was underestimating Nicole. David feels guilty and conflicted about their actions, but Francesca reminds him of their shared ambition and mutual self-interest, urging him to stay focused on their goals. Francesca, reflecting on her past as she steps outside, recalls her traumatic childhood and early rebellious years. Her stepfather's abuse and subsequent estrangement left her resilient yet scarred. She remembers meeting Carlo Bianchi, who, enchanted by her audacity and beauty, took her on a whirlwind journey to Rome and beyond. However, their relationship soured as Carlo's true nature revealed itself through violence. As Francesca contemplates their current predicament with Nicole, she resolves to find a way to neutralize the threat, drawing on her past experiences and cunning to protect their secrets. Dr. Takagishi awakens to an alarm on his watch, dresses, and quietly leaves his hut in the Rama camp. He heads toward the cylindrical sea, where he equips himself with cleats and a personal navigator. As he walks across the ice, he smells cigarette smoke, leading him to believe someone might be following him, but he continues cautiously. Eventually, he reaches New York, an island city, and explores its central plaza. He notes differences in the street layout compared to earlier maps, carefully documenting them. His goal is to understand the secrets of Rama by studying New York's plazas. In the plaza, Takagishi sets up a scientific instrument, but soon hears strange noises. Investigating, he finds his equipment has vanished, but later spots it further away. As he examines it, he notices a moving, black and gold, rope-like object. Following it, he discovers a mass of tentacles inside a shed. Suddenly, a high-frequency whine erupts, and the tentacles reach for him. Overcome by terror, Takagishi dies as the creature grasps him, leaving his quest for Rama's secrets unfinished. Admiral Heilmann is abruptly woken by General O'Toole with urgent news about a top-secret message regarding Trinity. The general questions whether Borzov died without revealing a critical secret and if anyone else knows about Trinity. As they discuss, Janos Tabori prepares for a possible evacuation from Rama, meticulously checking the crab biot and contemplating a strange conversation he had with Nicole about General Borzov's mysterious death. Tensions rise as Janos suspects foul play, and Rama's lights flood the structure, marking a new day. The cosmonauts, readying for evacuation, notice Takagishi's absence. Nicole, deeply concerned, organizes a search, suspecting Takagishi might be in New York. Admiral Heilmann and Brown clash with Earth-based command over the search strategy, but they proceed. As Nicole packs her medical supplies, Wakefield offers her a small Prince Hal figurine for luck. Touched by the gesture, Nicole heads out, determined to find Takagishi and resolve the mysteries surrounding their mission aboard Rama. Brown, a theoretical scientist who distrusts machines, finds himself in an ice mobile with Nicole and Francesca. As they drive across the ice, Francesca mocks Brown's lack of practical knowledge about machines, while Nicole defends him. Their conversation shifts to the sudden disappearance of Takagishi, believed to have been kidnapped by the Ramans. Nicole suspects he left due to impatience and a belief in the importance of reaching New York before an evacuation. During the journey, Nicole becomes wary of Francesca and Brown's questions about drugs and Borzov's death. Nicole senses that Francesca might be probing too deeply but keeps her suspicions to herself. Upon reaching the alien city, Francesca sets up a dramatic broadcast about their missing colleague, Dr. Takagishi, and the potential dangers posed by the alien environment. Ignoring Francesca's theatrics, Nicole focuses on the maps in her pocket computer, determining that Takagishi likely headed toward the city's geometrical center, believing it held significant meaning. Nicole, Francesca, and Brown search the maze-like city for Takagishi. They are guided by Admiral Heilman's transmissions, which frequently get interrupted. Frustration grows as they fail to find Takagishi, and tensions flare between Francesca and Brown, who argue about returning to their base. Nicole, angered by their self-interest, insists on continuing the search. While exploring a peculiar barn-like structure with one-way transparent walls, Nicole and Francesca discover several deep pits. They receive an urgent call to return to base due to strange activity at the South Pole, but Nicole, suspecting Takagishi may have fallen into one of the pits, decides to investigate. Despite Francesca's protests, Nicole checks each pit and accidentally falls into one, losing consciousness as Francesca heads back alone. Francesca is startled when Rama's lights begin pulsing. Initially seeking shelter, she hears Nicole's cry for help and rushes to assist, but trips, injuring herself. She sees Nicole in a precarious position near a pit and decides not to intervene, fearing exposure of her past misdeeds. Instead, Francesca fabricates a story to cover Nicole's disappearance, convincing herself it is the best option to protect her future. As Rama undergoes a significant maneuver, Francesca and her team learn it is heading toward Earth. The crew discusses the implications, with Francesca joining the conversation via radio. Brown, their leader, emphasizes the urgency to leave Rama given the potential threat to Earth. Despite various opinions on the Raman's intentions, the crew prepares for departure, grappling with the uncertainty and the potential impact on humanity. Nicole awakens groggy and in pain, unsure of what happened. She remembers falling into a pit while searching for Takagishi and tries to contact her team, but only hears static. Realizing she's been unconscious for 32 hours, she assesses her injuries and surroundings. Despite her injuries, she finds herself in a deep rectangular pit with smooth walls and scattered metallic pieces. Unable to climb out or make a ladder, Nicole is faced with limited food and water. She contemplates her dire situation, fearing starvation and reflecting on her life, including cherished memories with family. As hours pass and despair sets in, Nicole's resolve strengthens, reminding her of the preciousness of life. She reminisces about her mother, father, and daughter, recalling the love and support they've given her. Nicole's memories bring both joy and sorrow, helping her come to terms with her predicament. When the pit lights up, she feels a renewed sense of hope. Kneeling in the pit, she prays for help, grateful for her life and the people in it, and remains determined to face her fate with dignity. Nicole engages with a small robotic replica of Prince Hal from Shakespeare's plays, seeking distraction from her situation. As she converses with the robot about historical events, her attention is disrupted by the appearance of two giant avian creatures. Initially terrified, Nicole studies them, noting their pterodactyl-like features and intelligent eyes. Despite their brief and mysterious interaction, the avians leave without aiding her escape, deepening her sense of isolation. As days pass and hunger gnaws at her, Nicole discovers an oval object that provides her with sustenance. She carefully cuts into it, finding a nutritious liquid and meat, which she consumes with relief. This newfound food source revives her, giving her the strength to devise a plan for enlisting the avians' help in her escape. She remains hopeful and determined, clinging to the slim chance of survival in the face of overwhelming odds. Nicole's vision blurs, and when she opens her eyes, she sees bright geometric patterns and a distant black dot that grows into the figure of an old man, who resembles both Ome and her mother. As he runs across the African savanna, he climbs a mountain and stands silhouetted against the sky. Nicole hears a rocket engine and watches astronauts land on the moon, where they encounter the old man. He tells Nicole he is her ancestor, who drank from the Lake of Wisdom, and that she is destined to share Minoe's story. The man transforms into a tiger, attacking Nicole, but her mother saves her with an arrow. Her mother warns Nicole about hidden dangers and ascends into the sky in a chariot. Nicole's vision shifts to a concert with her father, who turns into a sparrow. She follows him as they fly over the Loire Valley, eventually landing in Chinon. They observe Eleanor of Aquitaine and Henry Plantagenet arguing, and Eleanor speaks to Nicole about destiny. Nicole and her father then fly to Rouen, where they rescue Joan of Arc from a burning stake. Nicole transforms into a heron and flies over New York City, observing everything in extraordinary detail before safely landing in her pit. Nicole sits contemplating a strange vision she experienced as a child. She recalls the guidance of an elder, Ome, and the memories of her mother. As she sits, a large centipede-like biot appears, descending into the pit. Nicole sees this as her chance for rescue. She makes several attempts to climb the pit using the biot, eventually succeeding by using suture material to secure herself. After a tense climb, Nicole reaches the top, overjoyed. On the surface, Nicole struggles to communicate with her crew, who seem unresponsive. As she explores, she hears cries and discovers two avian creatures, one trapped in a lattice. With careful effort and her power scalpel, Nicole frees the trapped bird, earning its trust. The avians guide her through New York, leading her to a hidden entrance under the plaza. Nicole follows, pondering whether she is being invited to meet the creature's family, hoping it won't turn out badly for her. Nicole follows the avian into a large hole, descending cautiously through a vertical corridor lined with ledges. As she descends, she encounters various tunnels and hears running water. With the avian's guidance, she explores a tunnel leading to a room with a cistern of pure water. After drinking, she continues her exploration but grows uneasy when the opening to the plaza above closes, fearing she might be trapped. In a large circular room, Nicole meets more avians and shares a meal with them. Exhausted, she falls asleep. Waking to faint calls of her name, Nicole realizes Richard Wakefield is searching for her. She hastily climbs back up the corridor, evading a sentinel-like tank. Despite her fatigue, she makes a daring jump across the corridor to reach the other side. As she ascends, she hears Richard's voice and shouts back. With Richard pounding from above and the avian's assistance, the cover opens. Nicole climbs out, joyfully reuniting with Richard, who's astonished by the sight of the avians. Nicole feels disappointment as Richard tells her they're stranded on the island with no means to cross the cylindrical sea. Overwhelmed, she breaks down but quickly regains composure, apologizing for her outburst. As they sit together, Richard recounts his harrowing escape from shark biots and explains he tracked her using a beacon in her flight suit. Despite the situation, their conversation turns lighthearted, with Richard revealing his admiration for Nicole and her amusement at his nerdy charm. As night falls, they set up a portable hut near the plaza, bonding over their shared experiences and speculating about the avian's origins. Richard's fascination with the avian's potential intelligence contrasts with Nicole's concerns about survival and rescue. Despite the circumstances, Richard remains optimistic and unafraid, valuing the excitement of their mission over the fear of death. Their candid conversation reveals their motivations and fears, hinting at a deeper connection forming between them as they face uncertainty together. Nicole wakes slowly, savoring her dream state, and Richard cheerfully informs her that Rama is now heading toward Earth. Richard explains that the Raman maneuver has put them on a collision course with Earth, necessitating their evacuation. Despite Nicole's initial disbelief, she checks the temperature, which is still rising due to the thermal conductivity of Rama's outer shell. Richard elaborates on the 7-hour conference, discussing the potential motives behind Rama's new trajectory, highlighting that most believe it to be hostile, although Richard maintains it could be driven by curiosity or a desire to be beneficial. As they explore, Nicole and Richard discuss the implications of Rama's approach and the decisions made by the ISA Advisory Board. Richard reveals his suspicion that Francesca deliberately misled the team to leave Nicole stranded, suspecting her involvement in a conspiracy. Nicole shares her hypothesis about the media contract and drugging incidents, which Richard finds compelling. They agree that Francesca, who seemed to be in control upon their return to the Newton, is a dangerous adversary. As they prepare to tackle the challenge of crossing the cylindrical sea, they recognize the immediate need for action and the broader implications of their situation. Richard and Nicole face dire circumstances as they discover their hut has vanished. Richard becomes withdrawn, preoccupied with his computer, while Nicole contemplates the daunting task of swimming across the cylindrical sea. Her thoughts are interrupted by a tiny, jovial robot named Falstaff, providing a moment of levity. Richard, now more serious, proposes three options: swimming the sea, foraging materials to build a boat, or waiting for rescue. They decide to search the city for boat-building materials, but prioritize securing their food supply first, despite the risk involved. Nicole insists on being the one to retrieve the mana melon due to her agility, successfully completing the task with Richard's help. They search for materials in the Western Plaza and its alleys, but find nothing useful for a boat. Richard encounters a seemingly purposeless centipede biot, adding to his frustration. Nicole suggests that the biots likely keep the surface clean, prompting them to search for another subterranean lair. Using multispectral radar, they eventually discover a second hole near the Western Plaza, similar to the avian lair, and hope it might contain what they need to escape. They explore a peculiar structure, discovering a flat plate that opens a hidden cover. They descend a steep ramp, with Richard venturing further as Nicole hesitates. As Richard reaches a landing, lights activate, revealing a continuous ramp. Despite Nicole's protests, Richard continues exploring, eventually getting trapped when the cover closes. He reassures Nicole and reopens the cover, re-emerging with a grin. Together, they descend deeper Rinstack, encountering more ramps and a large cavern with multiple tunnels. They choose a tunnel and proceed, but an eerie noise from behind startles them. Nicole panics and runs, with Richard following, both unsettled by the experience. Continuing cautiously, they find a museum-like room with photographs depicting scenes from Rama and the cylindrical sea. They ponder their limited knowledge compared to the vast potential knowledge of the universe, feeling both overwhelmed and thrilled. Deciding to press on, they encounter various elements of the alien environment, reflecting on their ignorance and the enormity of what they don't know. The exploration challenges their understanding, pushing them to appreciate the complexity and mystery of the universe they're navigating. They discover a large, spiked cylindrical hole while exploring underground tunnels. Determined to explore further, they descend into the chasm, finding various structures and tunnels at the bottom. Their investigation leads to a lattice material similar to that found in New York, confirming the advanced technology of their surroundings. As they explore deeper, they find tunnels with different sizes, hinting at the presence of creatures of varying sizes. They encounter a subway-like vehicle, deciding to stay cautious and not board it despite their curiosity. Using small robots, Richard and Nicole send them into smaller tunnels, discovering an intricate underground world with spongy spheres emitting heat. Their exploration takes a dangerous turn when one of the robots, Falstaff, is destroyed by a creature with tentacles. Realizing they are being pursued, Richard and Nicole hastily climb out of the spiked cylinder and run through the tunnel, aiming to reach safety. Richard, carrying their equipment, hears the creature's approach and races to catch up with Nicole. The tension escalates as they navigate the dim, winding tunnel, their safety uncertain in the face of the unknown creature chasing them. Nicole and Richard sit exhausted after the terrifying experience. Nicole recounts her frightening encounter with the stuffed body of their colleague, Shigeru Takagishi, displayed like a museum piece in the alien tunnel. She believes the octospiders that taxidermied him didn't kill him, but possibly scared him to death. They speculate about their slim chances of survival and discuss their feelings about death and the importance of life. Richard shares a personal story about contemplating suicide, and Nicole reassures him with her belief in their survival. Driven by visions and mathematical theories, Nicole and Richard search for a third underground lair in the alien city. Richard works tirelessly, using geometric relationships and patterns to determine its location. After hours of effort, they find the entrance, celebrating the success of both intuition and mathematics. They descend into the lair, finding it eerily empty and quiet, hinting at future inhabitants. Despite the dangers, they continue their exploration, driven by curiosity and the hope of understanding the alien world they are trapped in. They explore the underground lair, puzzled by strange gadgets and the mysterious absence of the Ramans. They find an array of items resembling human objects like a watch and a comb, but they function incorrectly. This discovery leads them to speculate that these objects were fabricated based on images from the first Rama mission, suggesting a communication link between Rama I and Rama II. Richard and Nicole question the intentions of the Ramans and ponder whether they have encountered any real Ramans or just their creations. As they investigate further, they discover a keyboard that operates a concealed computer system. Richard takes on the task of deciphering its commands, aiming to use it like their own computers. While Richard works on this complex task, Nicole explores the surroundings, reflecting on their mission and the mysterious differences between Rama I and Rama II. They remain determined to uncover the purpose behind the Raman's actions and the true nature of their encounter. Nicole and Richard are struggling with limited food supplies and time. Nicole ventures out to retrieve food while Richard focuses on deciphering the Raman computer. She successfully uses Richard's instructions to open a panel and interact with avians, eventually obtaining mana melons by displaying enticing graphics on her computer screen. Meanwhile, Richard makes a breakthrough with the Raman computer, discovering it can produce objects on request, which he believes will be crucial for their survival. Despite Nicole's efforts, Richard's focus remains on the computer, straining their relationship. Nicole feels isolated and worries about their dwindling time until Rama's encounter with Earth. After a period of intense work and neglect, Richard apologizes to Nicole, expressing deep appreciation for her. This emotional reconciliation highlights their mutual dependence and the significance of their partnership in navigating their challenges. Richard and Nicole grow closer as they work together with the Rama computer, enjoying walks and conversations about Shakespeare and Nicole's visions. One night, Richard shares a painful story about his ex-wife Sarah and his suicidal thoughts, only to be saved by his passion for physics. The couple's bond strengthens, and they spend their last days in Rama exploring options for survival. Richard eventually discovers a way to access Rama's sensors, revealing that the military ship is still docked outside, providing a glimmer of hope for their rescue. As they prepare to swim across the cylindrical sea, Richard continues analyzing the sensor data, uncovering images of various areas inside Rama. Just as they finish their preparations, they see 4 human figures descending the Alpha stairway in spacesuits. Overjoyed, they realize that help is on the way and their ordeal may soon be over. They stand on New York's walls, impatiently waiting for a rescue helicopter. Richard grows frustrated, convinced that the rescue team should have arrived from Beta campsite by now. Nicole suggests they might be using a boat, but Richard dismisses this, believing a helicopter search should have been first. With no response to their calls, Nicole sits down, tired of waiting. Richard suddenly gets an idea and starts calculating, proposing they build harnesses from lattice material to have avians fly them across the cylindrical sea. Skeptical, but with no better options, they start making the harnesses and attempt to communicate with the avians. After several failed attempts, Richard finally gains the avian's attention by shouting and showing a flight graphic on his monitor. Despite initial resistance, Richard manages to explain the plan to the avians with the help of a new gray velvet avian leader. This leader, after a tense negotiation, seems to agree with Richard's proposal. The avians calm down, and Nicole sees them preparing to help. Richard's bold plan appears to be working as Nicole calls out to him, indicating their readiness to embark on their audacious escape. Richard secures Nicole in her harness and instructs her to trust the avians to keep her above the water. As the avians lift Nicole, she feels a mix of excitement and fear, especially when she briefly touches the water. The flight becomes smooth as she is suspended 8 meters above the waves. She observes various sea creatures below, including shark biots and eel-like species. When they reach the opposite shore, the avians land her gently, and she expresses her gratitude before they fly away. Richard and Nicole then search for the rescue team, reflecting on their emotions and the significant changes they've experienced. Driving towards the chairlift, they encounter 4 human figures in spacesuits, realizing they are human biots made in the likeness of the Rama I crew. Stunned and curious, Richard records the biots before they head to the chairlift. As they wait, General O'Toole descends, unaware of the joyous reception awaiting him. The encounter with the biots raises questions about their origin and purpose, adding to the complexity of their mission and survival. Richard Wakefield decides to return to Rama despite orders from Admiral Heilman and Dr. Brown to stay on board the Newton. As he prepares to leave, General O'Toole offers his support, expressing admiration for Richard's courage. Richard confidently dismisses the objections of his colleagues, explaining he needs to retrieve personal items left inside Rama. After Richard departs, Admiral Heilman and General O'Toole discuss the increased threat Rama poses, leading to a new deployment strategy involving 5 nuclear weapons. O'Toole is troubled by the thought of using the bombs, reflecting on the horrors of nuclear explosions he witnessed in the past. When Richard fails to return after nightfall, the Newton crew grows increasingly concerned. They speculate about his fate, remembering the previous crew members lost in Rama. Tensions rise as Irina Turgenev argues they should destroy Rama before it causes harm. Admiral Heilman ultimately decides that no rescue mission will be attempted, emphasizing their limited resources and the risks involved. The crew is informed they will depart for Earth soon, but Admiral Heilman reveals a special task involving the nuclear weapons, signaling a grim resolution to their mission. Michael O'Toole cannot sleep, tormented by his responsibility to activate the nuclear bombs on the spaceship Newton, which are destined for the mysterious object Rama. The bombs require manual activation using RQ codes known only to the military officers on board. However, one of the officers, Valeri, has died, leaving O'Toole and Admiral Heilman to input their codes. O'Toole struggles with the morality of the order to destroy Rama. He seeks clarity from General Norimoto, who reaffirms the order, citing the unknown threat Rama poses and the need to ensure Earth's safety. Despite initial hesitation and a request for more time, O'Toole agrees to move forward. During a delayed crew meeting, Admiral Heilman outlines the deployment of the bombs inside Rama, stressing the tight timeline. O'Toole observes the meeting from his room, feeling the weight of his decision. Journalist Francesca Sabatini, aware of O'Toole's dilemma, warns him of the potential fallout of his actions. She assures him that his internal struggle will remain unpublished for now, but highlights the immense impact of his choice on his legacy. General O'Toole watches from his room as his colleagues inspect nuclear weapons, avoiding his own tasks due to a feigned stomach upset. Before dinner, he speaks with his wife, Kathleen, about mundane matters, avoiding his moral dilemma regarding the mission's true purpose. At dinner, Janos entertains the crew with stories about handling the bombs, while O'Toole becomes lost in thought about the implications of their mission. His reverie is interrupted by an urgent call from President Bothwell, who reassures O'Toole of the necessity to destroy Rama to protect Earth. Later, O'Toole grapples with his conscience, praying for guidance and recalling a previous moral decision during a military operation. He reads a sermon by St. Michael, which casts doubt on Rama's threat, suggesting it might be a herald of the second coming of Christ. Despite his reservations, O'Toole prepares to activate the nuclear bombs. However, when his turn comes, he hears a distinct no and cannot continue. Conflicted, he leaves the room, announcing to his bewildered colleagues that he will not activate the bombs, at least not yet. General O'Toole struggles with the moral dilemma of activating a destructive weapon aboard the spacecraft Newton, aimed at neutralizing the alien vessel Rama hurtling towards Earth. Despite the pressure from Admiral Heilman and the global community, who fear Rama's impact, O'Toole hesitates, grappling with a profound inner conflict and the weight of his decision. Seeking guidance, he converses with Pope John Paul V and ultimately ventures inside Rama to witness its vast and awe-inspiring interior firsthand. During his exploration, O'Toole is overwhelmed by the magnificence of Rama, which he compares to the reverence felt in old European cathedrals. Amidst his contemplation, he discovers 3 birds flying within the spacecraft, a sight that fills him with joy and a sense of divine intervention. This unexpected revelation solidifies his belief in a greater purpose and ultimately leads him to a moment of profound gratitude and spiritual clarity as he reunites with his colleagues Richard Wakefield and Nicole Desjardins at the bottom of the lift inside Rama. Nicole, Richard, and General O'Toole discuss their recent experiences in Rama, focusing on the discovery of a dead colleague and the controversial decision by COG to destroy Rama with nuclear weapons. Nicole believes Rama isn't hostile and is here to communicate with Earth, while Richard and O'Toole debate the logic and ethics of the destruction order. As they prepare to leave Rama, they encounter strange devices attempting to enter O'Toole's activation codes into nuclear bombs, suggesting an attempt by someone to activate them in his absence. They disable these devices and head back to the Newton, only to find their colleagues, Heilman and Yamanaka, missing. Upon their return to the Newton, they discover a video message from Admiral Heilman explaining that he and Yamanaka were ordered to evacuate and that O'Toole must activate the nuclear bombs before leaving in an emergency pod. The video system and communications have been sabotaged, adding to their urgency and confusion. O'Toole faces a critical decision as he processes the new information and prepares for the dangerous task ahead. After Heilman and Yamanaka took the only escape pod, Richard explains that their lightweight pods can only carry minimal weight. The team realizes that only one person might be able to use the remaining pod due to weight limitations, but Richard proposes they consider flying the entire spacecraft back to Earth. Nicole is tasked with checking the supplies in the pod and estimating the mass needed for 2 or 3 people. She finds the pod's medical kit inadequate and doubts the feasibility of fitting 3 people and supplies. While reviewing the supplies, she feels a sense of sadness and nausea, suspecting pregnancy. General O'Toole insists that Nicole and Richard take the pod, citing his own heavier weight and lack of training. As they prepare for their final evening together, Nicole reveals her pregnancy, surprising Richard. The mood is somber as they drink together, acknowledging the probable missile strike against Rama. Richard and O'Toole explain that the COG likely ordered the strike to ensure Rama couldn't harm Earth. O'Toole accepts his fate with grace, reflecting on his life and making peace with God. Nicole and Richard find themselves cramped in the small pod, concerned about the navigation system's ability to handle their increased mass. Richard is worried that the reprogrammed navigation algorithms might fail due to the unexpected mass. Despite his fears, he keeps these concerns from Michael to avoid worrying him. General O'Toole brings Richard a tiny Shakespearean robot, TB, which recites a sonnet, deeply moving O'Toole and Nicole. As they prepare for their uncertain voyage, Richard and Nicole discuss their fears, the potential dangers, and the possibility of one of them going alone, but ultimately decide to face the journey together. Later, Nicole is awakened by an avian creature that leads her through a dimly lit tunnel to a large room filled with shadows and a burning bier. She sees her mother's body on the bier, which starts to burn, and in the flames, her mother's face transforms into that of Omen, who delivers a cryptic message about fulfilling prophecies and spreading the Sinufo blood among the stars. The vision emphasizes the importance of her journey and the destiny that lies ahead for her and her children. Nicole prepares to leave Rama, carrying her final supplies to the heavy elevator. She is haunted by a vivid dream in which the Sinufo chieftain Ome tells her that her destiny is with Rama. Despite her apprehensions, she records a farewell message to Michael and Richard, explaining her decision to stay and communicate the imminent threat of nuclear missiles to Rama. Her goodbye is emotional and heartfelt, but she's determined to follow Ome's guidance. As she works on assembling a sailboat to cross the cylindrical sea, Nicole is surprised by Richard's arrival, followed by General O'Toole. Richard explains that he couldn't leave her and persuaded O'Toole to join them. They set sail across the sea, shadowed by shark biots, which heighten Nicole's anxiety. Upon reaching New York, they begin working on a plan to warn Rama about the missiles. As Richard delves into the computer system, Nicole and O'Toole prepare a communication strategy. Nicole feels a mix of fondness and fear, aware of the looming danger they face. Richard, Nicole, and General O'Toole, seated before a large screen, confirm that a set of blips represents incoming objects in space, likely missiles headed for Rama. Despite the grim outlook, they debate whether to warn Rama, with Richard outlining a logic matrix that evaluates possible outcomes based on Rama's potential hostility. The team decides that warning Rama is the best course of action to avoid catastrophic consequences. As the missiles approach, the trio works tirelessly to craft a warning message to Rama, detailing the missiles' trajectories and the destructive power of their nuclear warheads. Exhausted but determined, they complete the message and prepare to transmit it using various commands. While awaiting the outcome, Nicole and O'Toole discuss the purpose of Rama's design and its implications for humanity. With the missile impact imminent, they remain hopeful that their warning will reach Rama in time. Richard frantically checks for any sign of protective action from Rama, but finds none. He approaches Nicole, lamenting their apparent failure, while O'Toole proposes baptizing them. Despite initial skepticism, Richard and Nicole agree, and O'Toole performs the baptism in the open plaza under Rama's sky. Just as the ceremony concludes, Rama begins an unexpected maneuver, deploying a protective mesh around the spaceship. As the missiles draw closer, they watch in tense anticipation. The first missile is trapped and contained by the mesh, its nuclear explosion cushioned, causing minimal impact. However, subsequent missiles create more intense shocks. Despite some injuries and mounting fear, they remain hopeful. After a series of impacts and the final missile is neutralized, Richard jubilantly reveals that Rama has changed its trajectory to avoid Earth. They reflect on their survival and future, facing an uncertain journey as interstellar travelers with a renewed sense of camaraderie and determination. There is a link in the description. The narration was generated with tools from OpenAI. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.